am Linda van Tilburg for Biz News. With global turbulence during the Trump era and ongoing uncertainty in South Africa, there are South Africans who are still exploring offshore options for their future. Well, joining us in the studio is Sarah Young from Sable International, the immigration specialist, to shed light on what is possible. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Linda. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, could we start by discussing how recent global turbulence has influenced South Africans interested in offshore opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the global changes and with the speed that changes are happening, it is making South Africans in particular who are, hedging on a weaker currency, looking for offshore options that are going to be more stable moving forward. From my side, I very much specialize in residency and citizenship by investment. So it's people looking for options outside of South Africa when they may not have a birthright or a heritage option, allowing them to pursue alternative avenues. We continue to see much interest in Europe as a destination. A lot of people, more and more families are globally dispersed now. And so it's about what is the next option potentially, what is the next chapter for them after South Africa? And also, what enables them to remain on the same time frame as South Africa, potentially for business hours, for family links, for retaining your ties with South Africa, but being able to operate in maybe a more stable, safe global economy.
So, what about the Gulf states? People who are living there now, because the citizen opportunities there are not vast or any.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting expat market because most South Africans in particular that are moving to the Gulf are moving for business purposes, for employment opportunity to build wealth. And I think more and more families are looking at what is the next stage and where do they go from there, somewhere with permanence. And often it's not to return to the home country, it's to look at alternative options. And again, that may be specifically determined by the ages of children or family members, or whether you're looking at retirement as the next option, or whether it's more business opportunity. But more and more people based in the Gulf are also gravitating towards Europe for abundant opportunity and for, I think, more options for children, for tertiary education, but centralization around the globe. Again, not too many time zone differences with home countries. We also see a lot of Brits that are based in the Gulf also looking at Europe as an option. So something like the Portugal Golden Visa is something that you can run alongside any current residency and working opportunities available to you that ticks on in the background, that is opening up great options for further down the line.
Is medical insurance an issue and maybe actual citizenship?
So it depends on the country and the route that you want to pursue. If you take Portugal, for example, as a temporary resident, which you can secure through Portuguese residency, you would only really be afforded any Portuguese medical care if you were to up and relocate and physically move to Portugal. But there are great medical facilities there, and if you choose to actually relocate and live there, you can register for a social security number. Although most expats would still opt to take out a domestic private Portuguese healthcare policy to run alongside their options to seek medical guidance from the government options, from the government facilities.
And for those South Africans who find the lifestyle just too appealing, but still want business freedom and global mobility, what local options are there now?
Yeah, so we see a lot of opportunity for people that don't want to leave South Africa. I mean, South Africa's glorious. I've lived here for 15 years. When the sun shines here, it's absolutely magnificent. Why would you go elsewhere? But at the same time, I've got a British passport. I've got the freedom to go to the airport and get on a plane and travel to most countries around the world without a hitch. Whereas for South Africans, that's still a question around business freedoms, leisure freedoms. If your children are studying overseas in the UK and Europe, for example, we saw more and more people looking for tertiary educations overseas. Do you know that you can get to an airport and get on a plane in the case of an emergency to get to see them? Or we see more and more family members looking for retirement options overseas. and, or becoming more nomadic. And so, it's possible with a great strong passport and visa-free travel options to go to the UK for 3 months of the year to spend time with family members there, to then spend 3 months in Europe, to come back to South Africa to enjoy a lovely long summer here. And that can all be achieved through holding the right passport. So in that type of circumstance, something like Grenada as a citizenship by investment option can really yield huge benefits. We've also seen, you referenced earlier the turbulence within the political and economical climate too. And I think for people that have got their own businesses, often seeking the right tenders, the right partners, negotiating power often requires um, short notice trips abroad to meet with the right people. And so sometimes, that's not facilitated on your home passport. So it's about looking at other options which enable you to be more flexible.
And Grenada is such an option?
Absolutely. So the Caribbean offers 5 different citizenship by investment programs. Last year they signed a memorandum of understanding between the 5 states to harmonize compliance and due diligence. From our perspective, we just see more and more people opting for Grenada. It's a cost-effective solution. The passport itself and nationality can be passed on in perpetuity to future family members. So it means that, if your children are included on the application from the offset, if they marry, their future spouses can take up Grenadian citizenship, their children can. So you're essentially being able to future-proof your whole future generation.
And then, of course, at the moment, with all the movements around the US, is the Trump Gold Card. This has been making headlines. Can you clarify, is this a real opportunity for South Africans?
So at the moment, is it a real opportunity? Well, the Trump administration have indicated that they're pushing this out and it's going to be available soon. In all reality, it is not yet available. I think when you look at the price tag attached to the gold Trump card, so $5 million, of which there's no true understanding yet as to if that is a non-refundable donation to the US authorities or if it is a real type of investment. So I think for the bulk of South Africans, when you convert $5 million into rand, I mean, it's an exorbitant sum. And if it does not include any type of investment, then I think, it's questionable as to if it could be a real solution. There is, however, the US still has the open and available EB5 investor program. So that, is an available option, allowing people with wealth that can invest $800,000, which is a lot smaller than $5 million, into a qualifying investment, the option to pursue a green card status and permanent residency in the US. So since the Trump card was touted, we've definitely actually seen more of an uptake in inquiries for the US EB5 visa. And I think that's people exploring what that could look like. Just to note, though, that the gold card and the EB5 would require investors to physically relocate to the US. So these are immigration path routes into the US. They're not necessarily plan Bs to run along in the background.
Does Sable get any inquiries about the offer to Afrikaners from Trump's?
Again, we haven't specifically seen it. It's an interesting, thing. I think we've all been following the US changes, and I think the thing which maybe is concerning is that this could be an interesting route for people fitting the criteria, but it essentially would be an asylum-based visa category. And those types of visas can be revoked at short notice and changed. So, if you want something that's going to give you permanence, then the EB5 investor visa gives you certainty. If you're going to wait for an asylum-based sort of refugee visa, then you may be waiting a long time because we don't know when it would be implemented. And we also don't know what the longevity of that visa class would be for people pursuing it.
So are you offering any workshops where people can get this information from you?
Yeah, so we've actually got a couple of things coming up. We've got our US EB5 regional center partners coming to South Africa from the 19th to the 30th of April. And so if you would be interested to meet with them, it's a unique opportunity to understand what type of investment you can make to qualify you and your family to pursue the EB5. And we also will be hosting an event in the Gulf in early May, whereby the South African tax team at Sable, the wealth team and the investment migration team will all be visiting to assist expats with looking at solutions for the next chapter of their own journey.
It was Sarah Young from Sable International. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, very much, Linda.